Dear students, welcome to our fourth and last video on the chapter Biodiversity. This presentation is a collaboration between Mr. Shakil Acha from the Mauritius Institute of Education and Mrs. Piabakis, biology educator. Let's do a quick recap of all the subtopics we covered since the beginning of this chapter. We defined the term biodiversity, we explained the use of quadrats, we described the importance of biodiversity, we explained the effects of natural calamities on biodiversity, and in our last video, we explained some of the effects of human activities on biodiversity. But we did not complete it. So today, we will complete the other human activities which affect loss of biodiversity. And we will also explain the conservation of biodiversity. So let's begin with water pollution, which is another human activity which causes biodiversity loss. Water pollution is the contamination of water bodies, for example, lakes, rivers, oceans, and groundwater, by pollutants released by human activities. What are the effects of water pollution? The release of sewage from households and other water effluents into water bodies destroy aquatic life. The release of sewage and the drainage of chemical fertilizers from agricultural lands cause an increase in growth and reproduction of algae in water bodies. This leads to a decrease in oxygen concentration in the water, which is termed eutrophication, thus leading to the death of aquatic organisms. Water pollution is also caused by the throwing of plastic bags into the sea, whereby fishes, sea turtles, and seabirds die by suffocation. Oil spills from ships also harm organisms like seabirds, fish, corals, and mangroves. Now let's complete this activity together. This table illustrates examples of water pollution. We are supposed to say what are the pollutants and what are the possible effects on biodiversity. So picture 1 illustrates sewage being released into water bodies. The possible effects on biodiversity is that it causes overgrowth of algae, leading to eutrophication and the death of aquatic organisms. Picture 2 shows the throwing of plastic bags into water bodies, which cause fish, sea turtles to die by suffocation. Picture 3 shows oil spills from ships and tankers. This leads to seabirds, fish, and corals to die. Picture 4 illustrates chemical fertilizers being used in agricultural lands. The excess fertilizers is then drained into nearby water bodies, causing the overgrowth of algae, leading to eutrophication and the death of aquatic organisms. Now, the overexploitation of natural resources is another human activity which affects biodiversity. Overexploitation refers to the overuse of natural resources from the environment, which represents a major threat to biodiversity. To have a better idea, let us have a look at this table, which illustrates examples of organisms which are victims of overexploitation. We are supposed to match it with the reason for their overexploitation. So firstly, the elephant is hunted for their tusks, which are used to produce ivory. The blue-throated macaw is an endangered bird that is captured for the pet trade. The tuna fish is harvested for food and threatened by overfishing. And lastly, the leopard is largely overhunted for their fur. Invasive alien species is also another major threat to biodiversity loss. What are invasive alien species? They are in fact non-native organisms which have been introduced unnaturally, that is by man, from one ecosystem to another. It is one of the main causes of biodiversity loss. Invasive alien species in the Martian context, for example, Chinese guava, reproduce rapidly, outcompeting native species for food, water, sunlight, and space. Moreover, the drop in native plants imply less habitats for other native organisms. The decline in the number of native species in an ecosystem may affect the food chains and the food webs. Invasive animals, for example feral cats, they prey on small animals and birds, while rats eat the eggs of birds. They can also spread diseases to the native species. Since biodiversity loss has been of major concern for scientists in the past years, conservation and restoration of our natural ecosystems is of major importance to slow down this massacre. Conservation is thus defined as the protection and preservation of the variety of species and their ecosystems. Some measures to protect endangered organisms are the setting up of nature reserves, sustainable use of resources, captive breeding of endangered species, the setting up of botanical gardens, controlling invasive alien species, enforcing legislations, reducing pollution, and increasing public education. To end this chapter, which is biodiversity, let us view together a small video done by Conservation International with celebrities joining forces to give nature a voice. Let's ponder upon the message they tried to pass on to us.
Some call me nature. Others call me Mother Nature. I've been here for over 4.5 billion years. 22,500 times longer than you. I don't really need people, but people need me. Yes, your future depends on me. When I thrive, you thrive. When I falter, you falter. Or worse. But I've been here for eons. I have fed species greater than you, and I have starved species greater than you. My oceans, my soil, my flowing streams, my forests, they all can take you or leave you. How you choose to live each day, whether you regard or disregard me, doesn't really matter to me. One way or the other. Your actions will determine your fate, not mine. I am nature. I will go on. I am prepared to evolve. Are you?
Now let's go back to our slide. Before we part away, I will leave this homework for you. You may use the videos and your textbook to help you answer it. Thank you.